Stuart Scheller, the Marine that called out the role of the military-industrial complex in the war in Afghanistan, who tried to whistleblow on the level of ineptitude, corruption and incompetence he saw out there as a service person, has been temporarily perhaps jailed as a result of speaking out. He's in jail now, so it's easy to sort of assume that if you speak out about corruption, you might go to jail, particularly if it's the American military. And if the price of telling the truth is prison, what does that tell you about our system?
We just keep repeating the same mistakes. This amalgamation of the economic slash corporate slash political slash higher military ranks are not holding up their end of the bargain.
A US Marine jailed for attacking the military leadership over America's chaotic withdrawal from Afghanistan in a viral video was just asking for accountability, his family said. Lieutenant Colonel Stuart Scheller uploaded a video on his Facebook page on the 26th of August lambasting the US military's decision when the country was present in Afghanistan. He's been making regular posts since then, often complaining about being asked not to post. A statement from a spokesperson for the Marine Corps Training and Education Command, quoted by Defence News website Task and Purpose on Monday, confirmed Mr. Scheller is currently in pre-trial confinement. Is this jail? No, there's just going to be a trial, and pre that trial, we're going to just confine you. Are you going to confine me to a jail? Yeah. The time, date and location of the proceedings has not been determined. Am I here indefinitely? Yeah. Lieutenant Colonel Scheller will be afforded all due process, the statement continued. Will I? No. Meanwhile, the Marine's father said in an interview to the news site that his son was just asking for accountability. All our son did is ask the question that everybody was asking themselves, but they were too scared to speak out loud. Well, that is the issue, isn't it, with the old whistleblowing, is like it's only effective if what you're voicing a lot of people believe or fear, or if it's a revelation of previously unsuspected information. The reason I think it's so important that you comment in the comments below here is because a lot of ex-service people comment in these videos. In particular, one service person said that they believed that Lieutenant Colonel Stuart Scheller acted irresponsibly because the military is its own set of rules, and in a way I completely respect that. You know, once people are in a uniform, once they're within that organisation, they are literally being asked to operate within a context that is separate from civilian life, as a whole different set of prerogatives and protocols and rules and stuff. But I feel that there are some ideas that transcend that also, aren't there, and is there a requirement for, I'm asking you this more than telling you, a set of universal principles that we all have recourse to do with honour, integrity and telling the truth. And if someone's operating under that kind of higher law, I feel like, you know, it's not like he was selling off army boots and gun cartridges on the side. Like, hang on a minute, mate, that's out of order, you're abusing your role. It's like he's like, this is so bad that I'm going to have to transgress these principles, because a higher principle is in order. I mean, in fact, the whole notion of whistleblowing is predicated on that, because presumably any whistleblower at some point signed a contract saying, don't fucking spill the beans about our crazy antics down at NSA or wherever it is, haven't they? So the truth is that I think that it's a requirement that you have to break that particular bond. And obviously the decision that our man made was, nah, this is too important not to speak out against. They had a gag order on him and asked him not to speak, the father said. He did, and they incarcerated him. They don't know what to do with him. If you look at what Julian Assange famously said about the Afghan war.
Because the goal is not to completely subjugate Afghanistan. The goal is to use Afghanistan to wash money out of the tax bases of the United States, out of the tax bases of European countries, through Afghanistan and back into the hands of a transnational security elite. That is the goal, i.e. the goal is to have an endless war, not a successful war.
Well, that sort of tells you precisely what was happening and tallies entirely with what our man here said. How many times, I wonder, do we have to be told this is what's happening before we respond? Well, I would say probably an infinite number of times, because there is never a party standing for election that says, we're not going to do stuff like that. We are not going to do it. We're going to end lobbying. We're going to end this kind of corruption. We're going to break down the relationships between big business and government. We're going to make the government's primary focus you. There might be instances where big business is necessary and required for sort of production, but we certainly won't be engaging in the kind of overproduction and fetishization of objects that we currently have that leads to an unnecessary manufacture of things that you don't need and leads to unnecessary 2-decade-long wars that cost thousands and thousands of people from all sides their lives simply to keep people in pocket. We'll ban that stuff on day one. Vote for me. You know, like if someone says that, great. But people don't say that because the whole system requires that, for its own preservation, that there's no alternative to it. So now we know the truth. That's what the Afghan war was about. This dude spoke out against it, and if you're sort of a military person and you have your own sort of allegiances, then that's cool. I appreciate what you're saying. But from my perspective, what I'm saying is that there are higher truths that need to be appealed to, particularly if part of your objective, as mine is to talk about and bring about new ways of doing things. The 26th of August video posted by the Marine garnered 1 million views and thousands of comments, after which Mr. Scheller posted again saying he was flooded with friend requests and messages of support from people. But it became clear from his post since then he was receiving flack from the military for his videos. I've been advised not to make further statements by all my lawyers, family, friends, and the teams of people trying to push me in different directions following my military career, Mr. Scheller posted. What happens when all you do is speak truth and no one wants to hear it, but they can probably stop listening because I'm crazy, right? Mr. Scheller wrote at the end of another post. Well, I suppose, you know, in a way it's obvious. If you try to bring about change to an institution, you will face resistance. The institution requires its own preservation at all costs. It can't afford to have individuals within its confines speaking out against it, whether that institution is sort of some high-level agency within the military, a media organisation. There is always a sort of a culture of containment and preservation. I suppose what's happening now, it seems at least to me, is many of the old divisions and boundaries are melting away as we find ourselves in this sort of peripheral space where we're starting to question what is the value of our old systems, what is the value of nation, what is the value of our economic systems. I'm not sort of seeking recourse to old ideas, antiquated ideas, ideas that are proven not to work well, but I am saying that we need a new vision of how to organise our individual spiritual lives and our cultural and social lives. I don't believe it will come from what was conventionally known as the right or conventionally known as the left. I think from either of these spaces, new ideas will emerge and necessarily coalesce to create new ideas that will have to be, because the requirement for change is urgent, radical. There's a necessity that it will be radical. This is just a simple idea. If you want something to change, that means that what you're proposing will be different. And as soon as what you start proposing is different, you face resistance and opposition and criticism and attack, whether that's within the context of former Lieutenant Colonel Stuart Scheller, or if you're speaking about media culture, government corruption, big business, the relationship between big pharma and media and government. As soon as you start pointing stuff out, eventually a sign that you're getting some traction is people start to criticize you as an individual. That means that you have now started to convey truth to a point where people want to attack you along with those ideas. So I would say that what our man there's done is significant and meaningful, but he is of course taking some pretty significant and powerful forces to task, and historically they don't lay down quietly in that situation. And as they used to say in the old days, don't get into an argument that buys their ink by the barrel and their paper by the forest, you know, like, and these days of course the mediums may have changed, but the ideology certainly has in many ways stayed the same. Propaganda is more powerful than ever. If you want to comment on this story, if you think I've missed something, if you want to sort of break down a little bit of the military side, because I know a lot of you are ex-service people, hit me up in the comments below. Give us a thumbs up, subscribe to this channel, sign up to my mailing list at russellbrand.com. It's just one click away from a direct connection between us. Also, if you like this video, have a look at this one. This is obviously on similar themes, and have a look at this if you want to chill out and meditate. Subscribe to my Awakening channel as well. Thanks very much for staying with us.